That level 4 risk extends off to the west toward I-35 here and does include Des Moines. But keep in mind, where these warnings are in effect are in the level 3, level 2 areas where that risk is not necessarily as high, but once again, storms are still possible in those locations. So let's take you back into this storm here once again as we're continuing to watch a close eye on it. Meteorologist Brett McIntyre standing by as well. Brett, what are you hearing?
Yeah, we've got some reports coming out of this storm just south of Mount Ayr of pea-size hail here at the moment. That's what's coming in from storm spotters in the area. Train spotter just south of Mount Ayr. Pea-size hail here in the last 5 minutes, 12:43 was the report. So 3 minutes again. This, yeah, like as you said earlier, radar indicated tornado. But the big thing today with these storms is going to be that fast motion here. We're at 50 miles per hour right now. Wouldn't shock me if later on at some point we get some storms maybe as fast as 60 miles per hour. But there's plenty of spin in the atmosphere here, and not only that, but a lot of sunshine, a lot of mugginess out there. If you've been outside today, you can kind of feel that it's already warm and humid. So plenty of fuel and spin for these storms to go here throughout the afternoon. So you showed with the outlook areas, the Des Moines Metro, kind of the I-35 corridor is going to be basically the starting point for a lot of these storms, where they're going to fire up and then continue into eastern Iowa. So I-35, the threat not likely to extend too far into the evening, but this is going to be for our counties on the eastern side of our area: Newton, Grinnell, Oskaloosa, those areas. We're going to have to talk about this likely a good chunk here of our afternoon.
Yeah, and I mean, the rotation is certainly here, but overall you can see some really bright colors there. Those blue colors indicate strong winds in and of themselves. And this hail core is also really something to watch. It's really easy to see or believe why we have pea-sized hail with this storm when we get in closer here. But yeah, even these blue colors of themselves indicate just strong straight-line winds, which is another hazard today that we've been talking about. So tornadoes are certainly a risk, but straight-line winds will also be a factor here. And you could even see maybe those lowered correlation coefficient values, what we call. They basically look at the size of what's falling in the atmosphere. Sometimes when we get those lower values that are those white colors, that can indicate some hail as well, which we may be seeing in that cell. This is a look at Osceola as that storm rolls through that area right now with some strong winds and potential hail expected with that cell as well. Brett, are we looking at any reports coming in?
Yeah, we continue that severe thunderstorm warning for the areas kind of around this, and it's been upgraded now to golf ball size hail possible. So that's going to be what you were talking about with our bright colors there on the Mount Ayr storm, Ringgold and Decatur County, working its way up here to the north and east. So golf ball size hail possible. You can see the red outline is the tornado warning. You kind of have the severe thunderstorm warning that not only covers that whole tornado warning, but even a little bit wider there. So very bright colors there. The potential with that severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warning, there's the hail size, 1.75. That's golf ball size hail, basically the same areas that we're talking about for the tornado warning. We looked at the Osceola camera there, some heavy rain. We're going to keep an eye on that to see if any hail shows up there as well. They remain under a severe thunderstorm warning and also in the path of this tornado warned storm, and that's going to be the next area that we're going to be watching here through the next 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, and if we want to zoom in and get a little bit closer here, again, we're going to stay with this storm as long as the warning continues here. Brett, do you have any new information coming in as well?
Yeah, the tornado warning has been updated. It's going to continue. It's near Kellerton here at the moment. We have that a warning in place for until 1:30 here, so another 45 minutes here for central Iowa, south central Iowa, so we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Again, we're watching this area just southeast of Mount Ayr. That's where we've got a lot of spin. We have that tornado warning that really extends all the way up to Clark County. We're going to switch over here in just a minute, I think, to Max 2 We're gonna have Megan Sawa take over here on the radar.
Yeah,
while
can we
get this
switch to
loaded up.
Max 2?
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. We got a computer that we need to get restarted. So, so we're looking at these two storm cells. We have this 2 severe thunderstorm warnings as well as the 1 tornado warning. I've been watching closely the hail in both of these cells. We have a nice hail potential coming in towards the Osceola area. Just southwest of the city, we actually could have seen some large hail along Highway 34 and 69. And this is continuing to lift up through the city of Osceola right now. But as we slide back towards that more southern storm, this is the storm that we're watching for tornado potential. It's just south, a hail core potentially just south of the Kellerton area. A little bit of some rotation here just south. So far it's been radar indicated, but if you...
Rotation looks a little stronger now too.
It does, and it is lifting to the northeast up towards Highway 2. So if you're in Kellerton, you need to be taking cover right now. If you are in Decatur City along I-35, you also want to be taking cover. Let's look a little bit further upstream here. We have Grand River. You are in the path of this storm. You want to take cover as well as the Van Wert area along Interstate 35. That's the next area that we're going to want to watch for the arrival of this storm. I am going to go ahead and do a storm track. This storm's moving at 50 miles an hour. 50 miles per hour. So, Gabe, I can track it for you here. I'm going to put a track on that area of rotation and lift it up about 50 miles per hour so we can just confirm some of the cities that are in the path.
Yeah, those are some of the locations in the path here. We're looking at Decatur City by 1:05, so you got about 15 minutes here for that. Up toward Van Wert by 1:15, Garden Grove 1:20 as this cell lifts off to the north and east. And Megan, if we want to zoom in again really tight into where that area of rotation is, just so we can kind of pinpoint those locations for people, where we're currently seeing that strongest area of rotation and where it is going to be headed. So you see Kellerton there really just to the south of there. And once again, the warning is just northwest of Lamoni, and it does look like that's where the strongest area of circulation is going to track. We're looking at really the southern end of this storm. And really after that area of rotation, or at the very least strong winds passes, it's very possible we could even see then hail on the back side of this storm. So this is one where you may not want to try to see it coming unless you are able to really take a look at it from the south here. This is another look from Lakeside right now. This is not the tornado warned storm. This is the other severe thunderstorm warned storm. But this really gives you a good idea or indication here of what you're going to be seeing. So if you're trying to see some of these tornadoes today and you're not in that perfect position for it, you're going to have a rough time seeing it with these lower visibilities, heavy rain coming down. The camera shaking around quite a bit here. And this Lakeside camera, by the way, is one that usually doesn't shake around a whole lot. So that's a testament to this storm. But so far, this one was showing some signs of some weak rotation here. But it remains under that severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to take now another look back at radar here in just a moment here, where that cell continues that tornado warning in effect until 1:30 this afternoon for those southern locations here. Once again, we're looking just to the northwest of Lamoni as it tracks up toward Osceola. Likely this would just pass barely south of Osceola if it continues in its current track. But once again, here's that area of rotation. That tool with these bright colors, this can show debris. If we sometimes get those colors that look a little lighter here, and that perhaps may be a slight lowering, but that could also be hail, Brett. What are you seeing?
Yeah, it looks like for the most part that kind of lines up with where we expect the hail here at the moment. So getting those different shapes is basically what we're looking at when we put that tool up there. If we get away from the kind of purple burgundy, then we know we've got a whole bunch of different shapes in there. So probably some hail mixed with the rain. Again, the spin looks to be a little bit farther to the south of that area, and again, hasn't tightened up necessarily a whole lot yet. I'm going to look at the winds here in a little bit when we have a chance to pull that up, but I did kind of feel when I was outside here coming into the station around the Des Moines Metro, winds a little bit more out of the straight south or southwest, so that's going to kind of lower the risk a bit as you get farther west of Interstate 35. As this approaches Interstate 35 and gets on the east side, where the winds turn a little bit more to the due south and a little more to the southeast, that's going to indicate more spin. So I do think As these storms continue here, they're going to kind of blossom along Interstate 35. We're going to have large hail, especially initially. And then as they move farther east, there's going to be more and more spin for them to tap into, and that tornado risk will go up. Now, once these storms are started, again, even though I say right now at the moment, it doesn't feel like it when you go outside, those storms can change the winds, can kind of change the environment around them from how they're pulling the air in. And any little nudge there could spin things up. So there's going to be, I think, short triggers on most of these warnings here. It's not going to take a lot for them to push the button here as we go throughout the day today. And again, east of Interstate 35 especially, you want to make sure you're ready to go kind of at that moment's notice.
Yeah, and Brett, you bring up a really good point that these storms are moving into an environment that is more favorable the farther east you get. That's why earlier we were showing you those severe weather risks increase the farther east you go because the environment is more favorable here. So even though that northern storm that's over Osceola right now is not tornado warned currently, it very well could be as it moves northeastward. Here's some of those winds Brett was talking about here, and we are just seeing gusty winds in and of themselves, even without these storms. These winds are gusting. Actually, these look like they may even be sustained in that 20 to 40 mile per hour range right now. And are a little bit more southwesterly if you are west of I-35. But again, our attention remains focused on this storm. The tornado warning goes into effect until 1:30 this afternoon. And you'll really note this kind of maybe bird wing or eagle effect here that indicates how healthy this storm is as we're getting that inflow or really that warm air to really get sucked into the storm here. So once again, I'm going to step off a moment here so you can see. These are the two warnings in place, that tornado warning for Clark, Decatur, Ringgold, and Union counties with that potential hail size near golf ball size, and that severe thunderstorm warning that runs into effect until 1:15 this afternoon for Clark, Decatur, Lucas, Madison, and Warren counties as it shifts northeastward here. That hail size, a little bit lower there, not quite as impressive of a hail core there compared to those other locations, but still a factor that we're considering. So this cell, again, moving off toward Van Wert, really just northwest of Lamoni, some fairly weak rotation being reported right now from radar on this storm, and we're going to track it out for you again. This is the area where the storm appears to be rotating a little bit more, so on that southern edge of it, these are the locations we're watching it move towards. So Decatur City by about 1:05, that's in a little less than 10 minutes you have to get in your safe spot. 1:14 for Van Wert, Garden Grove by 1:21, and into Smyrna just before 1:30. So again, that would be actually outrunning the warning a little bit. Some of those other locations, you aren't currently in that warning, but we are still watching and monitoring for more development. You see, these are the two primary cells we're watching right now that look fairly healthy. This one just south of Sheridan, kind of weakening now as it lifts off to the north and east here, but plenty more storms off to the south that are moving into our area. But this is one just area we're watching, really kind of Dallas, Boone counties west of Des Moines, to see if we get any of that development going. But as Brett mentioned, those winds may not necessarily be the most favorable for those storms at this time here. So two cells we're watching. The southern one remains under that tornado warning until 1:30. If we want to go back in again and take a look at the rotation here on it, just to see how it's looking. Hail, certainly. Perhaps that hail signature coming down a little bit compared to where it was, but also this cell is getting a little bit closer to the radar, so we're seeing not quite as high in the storm, and still just some very broad rotation that's now pushing just east of Kellerton. This is Highway 2 right here. So if you're essentially south of Highway 2, just west of I-35, northwest of Lamoni, that's where we're watching. It does look like also this area of rotation is likely going to pass to the south and east of Grand River. Here it looks like that now cell near Osceola has cleared the area, and now we're going to be watching for that next system to kind of move through this area here. But for now, much calmer conditions there in Osceola as opposed to when that cell was pushing through here. So still these warnings in place in southern Iowa here. This is not going to be the only threat. These are not going to be the only storms that we see during the day today. It does look like the area of rotation may actually pass to the south and to the east of Grand River, even though they remain under that tornado warning. And then again, this cell now pushing out to the northeast of Osceola here. compared to that other cell. This one overall not looking quite as impressive here at first glance on radar compared to that cell to the south, but we are still watching for the potential for some hail as well as gusty winds with this. But what starts to happen when you get multiple cells is they have to compete with one another. So sometimes these smaller cells can get swallowed up by the larger ones, such as that cell down northwest of Lamoni that is tornado warned. It's overall looking a little healthier compared to those cells to the south. Brett and Megan, anything else you're seeing right now or hearing from?
Just a new update, the tornado warning is going to continue here. Again, it still goes until 1:30. Talking about it to just near Grand River, west of Leon by about 12 miles. Again, it's the environment right now that has a lot of spin. The area of rotation, for the most part, has been fairly broad here at the moment. We have not heard any reports of this being on the ground just yet. But again, as this continues to push toward Interstate 35 and moves into better and better environments here, the spin is going to be there. We do have some spin on radar. Keeping a close eye on that to see if it tightens up a bit here over the next few minutes.
Yeah, and so again, these areas like Van Wert, it's really about to cross Highway 2 and I-35 eventually, a little bit from now. But once again, these cells are really moving to the north and east at 50 miles per hour. So this is also not a day where you're going to want to necessarily go out and try to outrun these storms once a warning has been issued. That's why we've really been stressing the importance of having that severe weather plan and being ready to put it into action when a warning is issued. We're again going to track it out for you here, moving to the north and east at about 50 miles per hour, Decatur City by 1:13 this afternoon, Van Wert by 1:20, into Weldon by 1:26, Garden Grove 1:29, and again, some of these locations are just outside the warning box. So again, if you're under that warning, this is what you need to do. And again, we need you to take that action as quickly as possible right now because of how fast these storms are moving, going to that lowest level of your home. Of course, if you have a basement, that's great. If not, the lowest level to the most interior room, putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That would, of course, mean staying away from windows. Ideally, you wouldn't even be near an exterior wall. And then, of course, getting under something sturdy or, again, putting on a bike helmet, something like that, may sound silly, but it's something that can really save your life. In fact, when these violent tornadoes happen, oftentimes it's those bike helmets that can save your life because it protects you from that head trauma. We do not have any official word of a tornado with this cell right now. That is something worth noting. It currently remains radar indicated. So we're looking at radar. We're seeing that the storm has the potential. It's capable of producing a tornado. But so far, we don't have that ground truth yet, either from radar or from storm spotters that are in the area right now. And this overall, the area of rotation looks to be about just almost 11 miles to the west of Leon here as it pushes off to the north and east with this tornado warning right now. Once again, we're really kind of right along Highway 2 here, still west of I-35. And when we're kind of looking into motion here, it almost looks like the area of rotation may be weakening a little bit. Brett, what's your thought?
Yeah, we're kind of going, if we look here a little bit, the storm looked a little bit healthy, kind of almost like you were talking about the that kind of winged eagle. You get that V shape here. I can try and draw it a little bit, or you can point it out there at the top. We've got a very, very strong wind today, a lot of wind shear, and that's why this has been kind of talked about all week long and has gone to the high risk. So the winds up above the storm are here, like we're going to maybe get a left splitter off of here, and that can sometimes disrupt some of the things that are going on with the health of this storm. Then they kind of recycle. It looks like maybe that northeast side is going to kind of break off. We're going to get another storm moving up to the north, and then maybe this one is going to reorganize a bit. So again, when we have days like this where the wind is really rocking, sometimes it can push so hard it just kind of breaks off these updrafts, and we kind of reset for a little bit. That may be kind of where we're headed here at the moment, but certainly going to be watching it very carefully here as it moves to the east. We do have a tornado warning in place until 1:30 here just south of the Des Moines Metro. Golf ball size hail possible as well around Grand River and to the north. Tornado risk to the south of Grand River and to the west of Leon here at the moment. 1:30 again, the expiration time there.
Yeah, and so Brett, I mean, what you're talking about there is kind of just this battle, right, between the different ingredients that we have. We can talk about in a perfect world everything we need for a tornado to form, but you need all those ingredients to come together in the perfect mix that's not necessarily at a detriment to one another. So right now we're kind of seeing the wind shear, which Megan was talking about earlier on the news at noon, that kind of the twisting of the wind is battling with just the storm's ability to lift up and really survive on its own here. And that's what we're seeing really play out right here in real time. So it's 1:05 right now. This tornado warning continues for another 25 minutes for these parts of northeast, or rather southern Iowa here. And it is interesting. It does look like we perhaps have a little bit of this inbound air, this air moving to the north and to the east. These are some pretty high returns. So those bright blue colors indicate just that raw wind potential here. And the fact that that may be now the more dominant threat from this storm as opposed to some rotation. There is still a little bit of that broad rotation out just to the east of Kellerton that's moving off to the northeast toward Leon here and Grand River as well. Van Wert, again, you're still under this tornado warning as well. You want to take those tornado precautions that we've been talking about all through these last several minutes here when it comes to these kinds of situations here. So once again, watching this area on the southern end of the storm, we're several, really quite far away from the radar. And what happens is as that radar beam leaves the radar, it moves higher and higher up into the atmosphere. So it's somewhat difficult to get that ground truth or see what winds are doing close to the surface as opposed to higher up in the storm. And it looks like what Brett's doing here is showing higher up in the storm. That rotation, not too notable, or at least as notable higher up maybe. Or what's your thought there?
Yeah, look, when we go up there, it does look like we've got some pretty strong winds. Megan, we got anything from you right now?
I was just standing by in case anyone wanted to toss to me
Sorry,
and give you a little break.
I heard them say Megan. in my
No,
ear,
that's
but-
fine. You're good. Yeah, so I'm just, give the guys a little breather to talk. We are watching these two storms. Now, if we could take max 2 when I'm standing over in the weather center, that would be great because I'm going to be using max 2. And we're watching the two storms here. Gabe's been going over them really well for you. You have that warning to the south. What I wanted to take a look at actually is all of the heat and the moisture that this system is feeding off of. It is quite warm out there. In fact, we have temperatures up to 80 in Perry and 76 right now in Des Moines. We've also been mentioning the winds and the shear, and we're starting to see a little bit of a shift in the winds where they are beginning to come together right along the boundary where we're seeing those storms form between Lamoni and Creston, just south of the Des Moines metro area. And these storms are moving in a northeasterly fashion, and they are moving quickly at about 50 miles per hour. So we're going to continue to watch these storms as they lift across the state, moving into this very strong wind field, a lot of shear, and that is leading to some of the twisting that we're seeing taking place in some of these storm cells. So just zooming back in, it's for our viewers in southern Iowa. If you are in Van Wert, you need to be taking cover right now. The storm is moving up towards you. You've got heavy rain. There's some pockets of some hail mixing in. And I'm going to go ahead and put in our storm reflectivity right now, get a little bit of a closer look at that. We're watching for more of that rotation to set up here as the storm continues to lift up to the north. So no extension on that warning quite yet. It goes until 1:30, but Van Wert, you need to be in your safe spot. Anything new in the chat, guys, coming in?
We do have a viewer photo coming in. We're working to get that to you from Christy Sackett, 5 miles south of Mount Air, of a picture of golf ball sized hail. She actually has a golf ball next to it. So we are seeing a little bit of ground truth. That was about 10 minutes ago when that report was in place. And it is worth noting that perhaps maybe we're seeing that hail signal on radar not look quite as strong as it once was, as Brett was talking about that storm split that may be ongoing here with these competing forces, right?
Yeah, a little bit of some hail potential possibly in that southern cell. I'm seeing a little bit of some graying there, but it's not quite as prominent as we saw with that more northerly cell as it moved in and towards the Osceola area right now. So that has backed off just a little bit. So this storm, it's going to continue to move to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. Rotation usually on the tail end of a cell like this. And so this takes it to the north towards Osceola. North Osceola, you look to be possibly right on the northern edge of this second cell. You could have more heavy rain coming in, possibly another round of hail coming your way as this comes in from the south. Weldon, as well as Van Wert, still in the track of this storm that has been warned. Radar indicated so far, we have yet to see actual tornado report being visible by our storm spotters or law enforcement.
Just kind of watch here north of Decatur City for some spin. Again, there have been a few times where the winds have kind of popped a little bit.
Please take max 1.
Yeah, definitely have strong inbound winds that most of the time showing up here just to the west and between Decatur City and Grand River here at the moment. But again, we've yet to really see that true clear signal here of tornado ongoing, although we are starting to pick up some more noise here in the debris signatures. So maybe looking a little bit better there on that last scan here. County Highway J20, right at Interstate 35 here. That's an area that's starting to look a bit more concerning here on the radar. So again, if you know folks that are traveling, we've been talking about it all day long, all week long really. This is not a storm really to mess around with. If you know folks that are on the road, I-35 right in the bullseye here at the moment in Decatur County.
Yeah, and we do have a viewer report of nickel-sized hail in Kellerton. And they're saying that it looks like it actually has snowed there. So much hail has fallen. So that would be that same cell. We saw the golf ball-sized hail, followed by now some nickel-sized hail. That would correspond to perhaps a little bit of a lessening of the hail size there. But this cell continues to push off to the north and east here. Again, it's approaching the Van Wert area. Those pink colors do indicate a little bit of hail potential there, but it is less compared to what it was looking like a little bit earlier there, Brett.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And again, you can kind of see how that storm is maybe growing a little bit to the south as well. That will be another thing to watch as we go throughout the afternoon here in central and southern Iowa. As these storms begin to blossom and really build, if we start to see those storms kind of piggybacking one after the other, we're always going to kind of keep an extra close watch on those southern edge, the southern tips, because as that starts to blow up, they can sometimes kind of cut off the clean air that's coming in to feed those thunderstorms. You got to remember this storm is going to be taking air out of its south to southeast. That's what's coming in to feed it. So if we have storms that kind of piggyback off the bottom of that hook, that's where we can start to get cycles. Maybe that one takes over, becomes the dominant one, so we'll keep an eye on that. It's always something that we stress to spotters and storm chasers on there. It's very easy to get fixated on that tornado. And if you're watching that, you're not knowing what's going on behind you. Sometimes you can have something that comes right in behind and kind of overtakes the main system or the first system that you're watching. So those are the areas that we're really going to keep an eye on too as this begins to move into eastern Iowa. Remember, the farther east you go here, the more we get past Interstate 35, the more spin there will be with these storms. So this is really just the beginning. This is where the storms are going to blossom. Again, we do think probably along Interstate 35 and even into the Des Moines metro, we're going to see these storms continue to fire up. Initially, it might be just a bit more tipped to the hail side of things, and then as we go to the east, that tornado threat continues to go up and up here as we go throughout the afternoon. Now, we'll watch what happens here with some of the cloud cover that's out in southeastern Iowa, maybe even some of these light showers, how that changes the environment. Again, it sets up differences in temperatures, kind of little mini fronts and boundaries, and anytime storms can get hooked up with those areas where we have warm on one side, cold on the other, that does help create more spin, in fact. So there's kind of a double-edged sword here. Can we keep temperatures down? Keep maybe the ingredients a little bit lesser as we get farther to where that spin is? That's maybe one side of it. The other side of it is that could just increase some of the risk in a few areas where the sunshine is able to break out and kind of recover and set up that sharp difference north to south. So something that we'll be watching all afternoon. Still a while to go here in southeastern Iowa. So this could go through and clear out and still see things really be set up to trigger as the line of main storms pushes that direction. So we do have our severe thunderstorm warning that has worked its way up into Warren County here. New Virginia, just to the south of Indianola, and we're talking about quarter-size hail, 1 inch, moving to the northeast at about 60 miles per hour. Again, remember, I said these are going to be fast-moving storms. That's what we have the ingredients for today. Again, the winds are rocking. If you were up early this morning and you looked out your back window, you saw kind of the lower clouds that we had to start before we broke into the sunshine. One, there were 2 clues there. The clouds were low and they were screaming to the north. The winds, as you get right up off the ground, are very strong today, so that's going to push these storms along at a very rapid clip. A lot of times when we talk about big supercell thunderstorms, supercell tornadic storms, a lot of times the speed is a little bit slower. They may be around the 25 or 30 mile per hour range. Not the case today. Very big dynamic system here that's going to keep these things trucking quickly to the north and east. So again, we do have a little bit of a notch there around Van Wert. Again, this is the area of Interstate 35 that I'm really concerned about here in the moment. The last few miles on the northern side of Decatur County. Again, the winds that continue to be just a little bit unimpressive on radar, but we do still see areas of spin here popping up from time to time. Megan?
Okay, yeah, we're going to take it over to Max 2. If we can transition to Max 2, we did get that picture that we wanted to share with you. This photo was taken by Christy Sackett, and it is showing golf ball size hail. In her hand here, you see a golf ball, and you see a piece of hail. This fell 5 miles south of Mount Ayr, and she sent that picture in. We've also received reports of pea-size hail near New Virginia, so I just wanted to show that social picture that has come in for us today. So we can send it back to Max 1.
Yeah, and Megan, we do have a viewer that was writing and telling us they are in Van Wert. They said there is a lot of rain, but not a whole lot of wind. And it does look like now that wind may be just starting to move into that area.
Yeah, definitely keeping an eye on that. Again, we kind of flip over here to our hail potential. Again, that has dropped a bit in the last couple of scans from what we were looking at a little bit earlier. And again, the debris, when we're looking at this could tell us debris or hail. You see the bright pinks and or the bright kind of purple, the burgundy colors. Anything that's like this is good news. That means everything is all one shape. Heavy rainfall. When you get lower numbers like that, or lower colors here, we don't have to worry about this necessarily because this is the edge of the cloud, the storm. This is where nothing's happening. But if we saw a bullseye like that back in the middle, that's where we would know there's a lot of different shapes in here. That could be hail, different size hailstones, or it could be debris from a tornado if we were looking at corn stalks, dirt, tree branches, unfortunately pieces of structures or homes. That's kind of the clues we're looking at right now. Again, just the stripe on the edge where the storm stops, not concerning. But if we do see kind of a circle area, that's where you know things have been picked up and thrown into the tornado. So right now, our radar returns here are promising that we don't have the worst going on right now, but we still have that spin and tornado warning that's going to continue here for at least another 13 minutes. And that is going to be mostly for Decatur County here at the moment. Clark, there's a portion of southern Clark County here, but it's still mainly north-central Decatur County, right along Interstate 35, kind of crossing that area. And this storm is starting to stretch out a little bit, so it's beginning to look a little bit less organized here in the immediate term. But again, these will have plenty of potential to kind of re-up and re-strengthen as we go throughout the afternoon and evening. So there will likely be more warnings to come as we head through this afternoon. And in fact, when we take a little bit of a wider view here, you can see those storms basically lined up. Interstate 35 to the south. We have more behind this tornado warning out to the southwest that we'll be keeping an eye on. Again, the best spin, the biggest ingredients, that high risk for severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. That 5 out of 5, that is farther out to the east here. That's where the best ingredients and spin reside here to get these storms going. We are not in the clear at all on Interstate 35. I don't want that to be the message, but I do think the farther we go to the east, we are going to start to see those issues start to pop up. So there is a new severe thunderstorm warning that just came in. Gabe, if we can go ahead and check that out, you'll get that pulled up for us.
Yeah, it looks like this warning now goes into effect until 2 p.m. That is for Clark, Lucas, Marion, and Warren counties. This, again, is a severe thunderstorm warning. So this is extending the warning from where that tornado warning is currently in place and replacing it with a severe thunderstorm warning. It does look like the Weather Service at least has dropped. Sometimes they'll add that little tag, of course. This is a tornado is possible. That's no longer present on this storm. So they're also perhaps seeing indications that at least rotation may be weakening on this cell.
Yeah, that is good news. That kind of matches up with where we think this storm is headed here at the moment. So again, it's been extended. And again, on a day like today, when we're talking about these fast storm motions at 50 to 60 miles per hour, they're not going to be shy about extending the tornado warnings if need be. So I think this is certainly a good sign of what we've been telling you here over the last 10 to 15 minutes. We still want you in shelter to the south. Gabe, did they just drop? Did they just expire that tornado warning? I see the red box has disappeared.
Yes, it does look like the tornado warning has been canceled.
Okay, that is excellent news here at the moment. The severe thunderstorm warning. Gabe, I'll let you run through the severe thunderstorm warning again, give us the stats on that, and then I think we will take a pause, kind of reassess the situation, and get back to you guys again when we have our next tornado warning coming.
Yeah, I just want to track out this storm for you again. This is a severe thunderstorm warning heading off to the north and east heading into Woodburn by about 1:26. So within the next about 5 minutes. Lucas by just past 1:30 into near Knoxville by 2:06. That is outside the warning, but again, we're going to keep a close eye on the situation and on these cells. If any new warnings are issued, we'll jump right on here for you.
Yep, we're gonna go over. We've got storm team coverage today. We're gonna toss it over to meteorologist Jerry Ann Ritter here for a minute as our severe thunderstorms ongoing here south of the Des Moines Metro.
Yeah, Brett McIntyre, Gabe Pro, really keeping us ahead of these storms. Meteorologist Jerry Ann Ritter now joining you. We let Megan Salwa go home and go to bed. She's been here keeping you ahead of these storms all day since around 2 a.m. But before we take you to a quick break, and we want to let you know, you want to keep it right here. You can also stream this coverage on your phone by going to our website as well. And we want you to make safe plans here throughout the next hour or so as the weather conditions will be getting worse. But we just updated you on the severe thunderstorm warnings. Before we leave here, I would like to go to Max 2 and run through just a few things to remind you of here now that we do have thunderstorm watches and warnings in effect. The best place to be is in the basement, and we will go to the basement here at WHO 13 if we see the threat for tornadoes. The lowest level of your home is the best place to be in an interior space. We've been watching some of the coverage out of Mississippi recently, and a lot of the interior spaces with no windows survived the situation. We also want you to get under something sturdy, throw the bed mattress over you as well, and stay away from windows. We really don't want you on the roads this afternoon. It's warm and windy all across the state. You can see that cold air coming from the north and west, and this really tells the story of the situation. Again, we do have some strong to severe thunderstorms starting to pop to the south, and also a tornado watch in effect and one severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to take a quick break, regroup, analyze all the latest information, and we will break in when the weather warns. So keep it right here to WHO 13. Also keep streaming our coverage on WHO13.com. And we'll continue to keep you updated with what is considered a big severe thunderstorm threat here as we go throughout the afternoon.